Hello and welcome back to Shelf Centered. We keep switching things up, but I just thought I'd get back to these are my favorite shelves. Here we are. They're filled with books. I've gotten comments. Your other shelves aren't filled with books. I know. These are filled with books. So this is a review and I'm doing a lot better. So thank you very much for all your patience with me. Feeling much better today after last week. I wanted to do a review today on The Sword of Kaigen by Wang. It's read, so it's obviously an audiobook because that's 90% of what I read these days. It's read by Andrew Tell, and I'll get into that later. This is a no spoiler, and I'll warn you about it if I do go into spoilers. But anyway, you've been warned that you'll get a warning about the spoilers. All right, you're welcome. Sword of Kaigen, I heard a lot of praise. This is, my Indie August pick, so it's self-published. But what's great is, again, with self-publishing, I pointed this out in my Indie August video. With self-published books, an author can really go at their own schedule, and they can get out their own audiobooks. They can have it done by professional people. I know one of the things that one of my favorite authors, Jenny Wirtz, has been struggling with is trying to get the audiobooks done on the Wars of Light and Shadow. I think that'd be a great thing. I would be blazing through those on audio and book form. So anyway, this is one of those great things that we have the Sword of Kaigen because it's self-published and it's a wonderful book. I've heard lots of good things, and that was why I wanted to read it. That's why I bought it months ago, and then finally was enticed to actually read it for this wonderful month of Indie August. So the Sword of Kaigen, to get into it, to jump into it, because we got to jump every time. I clearly watch too much YouTube because everyone's always jumping into things. What I liked about it, sorry, I have some notes here too. The Sword of Kaigen is, what I like about it, and this is kind of, and it's not purpley prosed. It's very much a simply told, and kind of on the level, and this is no degradation or anything because he's one of my favorite authors, but on the level of Brandon Sanderson, who's very much just about, you're going to get the story, and it's going to be amazing. But it's simply told. It's very simply told. I think that's one of the things that I like about the Sword of Kaigen. I think I went into it thinking that it would be kind of more poetic. It is in your emotions. So the story itself is poetic, if that makes sense. My emotions were all over the place. I'm tearing up at one moment, and I'm cheering for joy at the other, and going, oh my gosh, this author must have been through some things just to be able to get these, what's the quote from Hemingway? It's, writing's easy. All you do is start writing and bleed, or something like that. I can only imagine. So this is one of those that clearly it's told very powerfully, but I think it's powerful in the simplicity, if that makes any sense. But it is very simply told, and it's very easy to get into. You start out, you get into right away this kid. His name is Mamoru, and luckily I have the audiobook pronunciations. That helps me a lot. Mamoru, you kind of start out with this, he meets this new kid. There's this struggle to get up this hill, and we find out that that this advanced school that's on Kaigen, that's on the peninsula where the Kaigenese live, it's very advanced. It's very well known. It's a wonderful skill, or it's a wonderful school, and only the elite can attend it. And one of the things that even right off the bat is just getting there is a struggle. And if you can't even do that, then you're going to struggle. So this kid Mamoru, he's from a legendary family. It's the Matsuda family, and so it kind of tells his story. It also tells his mom's story, and so it kind of starts with her, Misaki, who is literally one of my favorite characters ever. I mentioned her in a previous video, but so she grows up in this kind of unique place And it's hard to, there's just so many pieces to this. So I'm going to try to do my best, but that's why I'm trying to break it up into the different areas. But in her kind of world, we can say maybe just her perspective, she is growing up as a woman in this kind of more traditional culture. And so her family is prepared to marry her off, even though they've given her education. She's actually also a fighter. And so, but then she has to be married off to this family, and her only, job in life is to have kids. And I can't even imagine that being your life. Oh, you don't even, nope, love doesn't matter, who cares, whatever, just marry this guy, we picked him out for you. Which kind of gets twisted in the end too, and I don't, that's where I was going. I think I have to talk spoilers in this a little bit to talk some of these themes, but I'll get to that when we get to spoilers. So you have that, so you have Misaki, she's married into this Matsuda family. So what's cool, so here's the deal, the Matsuda family is known for ice. They have this like ice power, ice magic, and it's really interesting. And the Matsuda family specifically, of all the families that can do this ice magic, this Matsuda family can even do this advanced level of ice magic, and involving wields this ice sword that can essentially, it's so powerful it can even cut through steel, which no one else can do on this peninsula. They're governed by this Kaigenese empire. The empire kind of controls everything. Don't speak ill of the empire, or you're going to be in big trouble. Kind of one of those places. So it's very traditional. And then on top of it, the Kaigenese themselves on the peninsula are kind of known as being these warriors and trained as being these warriors that can protect the whole empire. And so you can imagine where that's going. So it kind of just shows these different kinds of characters in these different roles. Mamoru is just a favorite. He's easy to like. He's pushing himself. He wants to be able. So the thing is, not every Matsuda can do this mythical ice sword, and so he's practiced and done all these things to be able to do it. And he can. He struggles though because he hasn't mastered that skill yet, and he doesn't think he can ever do it. And there's actually a whole lot of people in his family over the years that haven't been able to do it, and so he's struggling with that. He meets the new kid in school, and they kind of get into some shenanigans, and end up discovering the kind of some secrets as to what the Kaigenese Empire has been withholding from their people, and so it kind of opens up Mamoru's eyes as to, wait, what am I doing here? And so it just sets up a lot of these moral kind of conundrums. Like, am I really fighting for this empire? Because that's all they're training to do, is to fight for this grand empire, and they're known that the empire is perfect. It does everything right. It's amazing. And then to kind of throw in the thick of it, but what are you fighting for? And so it's this really interesting kind of juxtaposition, I guess, that Emma Wang sets up here, especially with his mom. And so Misaki, like I said, is one of those. She's one of my favorite characters ever. She, the way she's set up is, I mean, she starts out. She's in school. She begins. She gets really good. She's this great fighter, and essentially becomes this vigilante with her friends. Doling out justice. That's why I'm like, at one point I was like, vigilante justice, ice magic powers, family dynamics. This book has it all. It's amazing, and it doesn't let up. So the world itself is just really, really well done. It's really intricate. There are other, besides just ice powers, there's fire powers, there's other types of families, and it kind of is like a family genetic type thing. I mean, at one point there's a child. Hey, watch out! Just drop the child if he overheats on you, because he's firepower magic, and he's been fine. You just drop him; he'll be okay, because he'll burn you if you don't. So the world building's amazing. What I'll do is I'll jump into spoilers at this point, because I just don't think I can speak too clearly about this without getting into some spoilers. I don't want to go too crazy, but I will have some spoilers here. So anyway, I'll leave the part to jump to in just a sec here. So as far as spoilers goes, what, eventually the kind of the enemies of the Kaigenese people come, and they have discovered a new way to do their wind magic. And so they've discovered this new way to essentially create horrible hurricanes, tornadoes, all these things to just demolish the people of Kaigen, especially, and especially on this peninsula. And so they hit right where they can. They try to hit the most powerful families to see where they're at, see what they can do. They are, and so of course that brings into, well, okay, even the kids have got to fight. I mean, we're surprised by this the whole time. The empire, the Kaigenese empire, has been hiding this from them, and so they don't actually, so it's a huge surprise that this is even happening. And so then they show the enemy shows up at their door, and they're like, what do you do? And they just go fight. And then it's like, holy cow, we were told that these are legendary warriors. They're completely outnumbered, and they go to town. They are amazing. They kill it. And but it's also, then this is where you have Mamoru going, okay, who's he fighting for? Is he fighting for the empire? He kind of has to realize he's fighting for his family. He loves his family, and regardless of what's happening, he's going to do what it takes to fight for his family. You have Misaki, who's been kind of at odds with her husband because she didn't come into this voluntarily. He's been very cold. I mean, he's cold anyway because he's from this ice family, but he's cold to her anyway. And so she's been kind of at odds with him, and she wanted to actually marry someone else and was in love with the other person. And so her kind of conflictions, but then how she eventually, and this is just what's so brilliant about the book, is that she starts to learn that actually maybe her husband has a different perspective, and he is actually coming at things from a completely different perspective, that he's been trying to help her and save her. And so them coming together, and her being so at odds with her husband at the beginning, and then at the end of the book going, she loves him. She is in love with him and loves him for all these things. One of the other things I'm like, is Emma Wang an accountant? Because the accountant saves the day in the very it's so great. It's so funny. It's like, yes, not the warrior, which he is still a warrior, but also the accountant. But anyway, that was a side note. But it was so powerful. And when, obviously, the most tragic event, when Mamoru dies, and you're just gut busted. It was mostly because you're going, there's no way she's not going to kill the kid. That's the last thing that would happen. And he dies, and it's Mamoru is such a good character, and to have him just sacrifice it all and be willing to, despite some of the things he's learned. Then his mom, to take that tragedy to grow closer to her husband, and all at the same time understanding what it means to just appreciate the lives of those people that are in your lives, and to appreciate the time you have. That's why I said I think she must have experienced some huge difficulties in her life, like many people, I'm sure, but it was like, this is powerful, and it was very clear. Hey, go hug your kids. Let's go hug your kids some more. Go enjoy even the times that you don't love. Go, figure something out. And I don't think in any way that this was any, hey, you're in an abusive relationship, suck it up kind of a way. Not at all like that. It was, I wasn't, I was kind of into myself and not understanding other people's perspectives now that I do, because it wasn't like her husband was ever abusive to her. If it borders. I mean, it's definitely borderline because of the traditions and everything. But I don't think it was like intentional. It was from him. It was actually an unintentional trying to make sure she survives the ordeals of motherhood and all that, while not knowing specifically what to do. And then, you know, then they've technically fought each other, but that was for other reasons too. So and anyway, I'm not saying that's, you know, what ML Wang is getting at all. It's the opposite. It's just, hey, there's some instances where maybe your perspective, you need to take a step back and take a look and walk in other people's shoes. So I'll stop the spoilers now. I really enjoyed this book. It's so well done. I enjoyed it from the beginning to the end, and it's so easy to get into. I would say I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And I know I didn't really, I need to explain my system of rating, because it was powerful, it was wonderful, it was very good, and I would definitely read more and definitely read this one again. And it does seem like there's definite potential for more, and I hope we do get some more. All right, mispronouncing fantasy names. We're going to go with a classic. I know you're going to know it's very popular, but I've heard multiple different sayings of it. Kvothe. I think I got that right. Kvothe? Kvothe? Kvothe. All right. Good luck with that. That's an easy one. All right. Leave a comment. You know what it is. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for stopping by. Take care.